Greetings, Bat Family! Welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com, and you can also find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. You will find us. If you love the show, you want to help support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast, and as always, a big thank you to all our patrons. You guys make our lives that much more magical and that much easier. So thank you. We really do appreciate it. As always, we're a part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. So if you're looking for other shows to enjoy, you can check those out at rf4rm.com. And I am Andy DiGenova, your Bat host. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, it has been over a month? Maybe? Just about a month since the last episode, because life has gotten busy and I warned you all that was going to happen. So it's been a little while and we are back. Thanks for your patience. And so this is just more of a catch-up episode to talk about everything that we missed over the past month or so. And joining me for that is my Bat brother, Mr. Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
Educated people call it catsup.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, it's a Seinfeld thing. Anyway. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Just the mention of catsup makes me want, some dogs on the grill for the 4th of July.
Wait, you put ketchup on hot dogs?
I do. I'm a bad Chicagoan.
Anymore.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Yeah, in Chicago, I say that in hushed tones, where I'm like, can you pass the ketchup? And they're like, no! I'm like, okay, I'll just be over here with a hot dog and a ketchup, and please look the other way. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. I'm a monster.
My kids put ketchup on hot dogs, and I just groan every time I see it happen. But,
yeah.
Hey, you know what? I'm sure I eat things that everybody else doesn't like. So
yep, sorry about it, but anyway, it has been a long time. So I warned everybody, and I'm warning you again. I mean, a couple of you were very nice and tweeted going, hey, what's going on? And I said, my life is going to be very up in the air for at least another month or so. Just got married, just went out of town to visit family. Still sort of displaced right now, about to go out of town again in a couple weeks and then moving to Florida. So because of all of that, podcasts are going to be very hit and miss, few and far between. And then hopefully I will settle late August and then get back into a little more regular schedule. So now it's where I can fit it in and when you or Brendan can find the time to join me. So thanks for finding the time a little bit last minute today.
Well, Brendan's too busy touching himself about Australia winning some basketball game against the United States, so he's going to be occupied for a while with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But that's fine, Whatever makes you happy, I support it.
Enjoy the moral victory.
Right. And we talked about, reviewing The Long Halloween. You haven't watched it yet. So me and Brendan were talking about, I was like, well, we'll do it while we wait for you to catch up. And he's like, well, I was thinking we could do it this time and then this time. And I was like, dude, trying to be that specific about recording podcasts is not going to work for me right now because just not going to happen. So we will get to that. I want to get to that. Spoilers, I really liked it. Or at least I really liked part 1. Obviously, part 2 has not come out yet. So that is on the horizon. It's just a matter of trying to make that work. But I know you're waiting for both.
Yeah. It's not so much that I really want to. It's just, well, here, I'll give you an example. Anytime I spend money on something, I get screwed on it. For example, A Quiet Place Part 2 was available for purchase as of yesterday morning when I got up and checked the iTunes store. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay, it's $20. If I would have taken the whole family to see the theater, and everybody would have, because my wife liked the first one, the kids really liked the first one. If we'd have went, it would have been a $60, $70 trip. So $20 for buying the movie, and I'm sure I'll like it. I love the first one. I heard nothing but rave reviews about the second one, so I buy it. I turned on my TV about an hour later, and right there, a big banner across the Amazon Fire TV thing. A Quiet Place Part 2, now streaming on Paramount+. I'm like, you sons of... So I know the instant I would break down and actually pay money for The Long Halloween, it's either A, going to show up on HBO Max, or B, the second one's going to pop right after it. And then they'll do what they did with the Dark Knight Returns animated movie, and they'll, 30 days later, they'll release a deluxe edition with both parts for the same price.
Yep. And I will buy all 3 because I'm still a sucker, but I totally get your point.
You're the reason they keep doing it.
Yeah, you're right. I am. Because yeah, I mean, well, and I do wonder, if they're, obviously they will lump them together and sell them as one. Because really, part one is truly a part one. It's not, it doesn't end. It's like, well, we'll see you in a month or so for the continuation. But it was interesting. Somebody tweeted out something about like wanting them to release it theatrically, at least limited. And I want to say it was Tim Sheridan, who is the writer. Oh my God, I'm doing this all from memory, so I could be totally wrong. He retweeted it with just those little eyeballs. And so I wonder if that means maybe they will do the combined ones on sort of like a Fathom event thing. Because I think that could be really cool. I would definitely do that.
I'm not really keen on going to the theater because I'm spoiled now, but
I know you're not.
That would be cool for the few people who are still going.
But for those of us who like the theater, I think that would be really cool. Because I really liked it when I got to do that for The Killing Joke. And was it the, oh God, I can't remember the name. The Batman and Robin, the Adam West, the 66 one, Batman 66.
Yeah.
So like when they've done it for those, or even I think was it the Death and Return of Superman they did it with too?
I believe so.
Yeah. Yes. So like I always love it when they do that. So if they do that for the
Killing
Long
Joke
Halloween,
had a limited theatrical
run. Yeah, and that one did
it shouldn't
really
have,
well.
but it did.
Yeah. So I'm into it if they do that for the Long Halloween. But anyway, point is, we are going to review it, and it'll be coming. It's just a matter of, again, making schedules work and everything. And but I will tell you, I really liked part one. So I really am looking forward to part two. So
I haven't really seen much on it. Is it sticking fairly close to the book, or is it kind of doing its own thing?
A little bit of both. I think we will see how much it strays as it starts wrapping up. But right now, it's certainly very similar to the book, but they do make some changes, none of which bothered me. But yeah, I'll just be very curious to see how that sort of ends up after it's all said and done.
Cool.
But anyway, so there you go. There's my non-spoiler reviews. I really liked it. I can't wait for the second one. And I don't really have any complaints about the first one. It's just seeing how it's all going to come together in the second one. So I had a lot of questions about the first one, but those questions will be answered in the second. But as far as like, so far, so good. I'm really happy with it.
Excellent. I look forward to watching it.
Yeah.
It's not going to cost me $20 for half of a movie.
I get it. I don't blame you. I didn't mean to start that way, but since we were talking about the Long Halloween, let's keep talking about it because we will get a lot of Long Halloween content this year. Not only do we get the 2-part movie, and then eventually it'll get smashed together into just one movie. We are getting a comic book follow-up this October. We're getting a Batman Long Halloween special coming on October 12th. So the team is back. So Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale are reuniting for it, and letterer Richard Starkings and colorist Brennan Wagner will be joining them. It's a 48-page story that continues the tradition of the Long Halloween and others. And so no details other than it's the team coming back for a one-shot, but to me, I think that's awesome. I will always take more Halloween content and Batman Long Halloween content, all things that I enjoy. So I think this is super fun, and it'll give us a great Halloween episode for the podcast, because by then I should hopefully have my life settled in order.
We're always scrounging for content to do holiday stuff anyway, so yeah, that'll work out nice.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that.
And by then, we actually might be able to just do like a 2-part episode. We can do part 1 where we finally get to talk about the movie, because that might be about the time I actually get to watch it. And then we can do part 2 where we talk about the new comic.
Yeah, that's true. So it's like, are we just going to cover it? Like, I'm going to cover it with Brendan first, and then just cover it with you once you finally see it.
Yeah, that'll work.
That's fine. I'm not opposed to it. But anyway, that's really cool. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be awesome. So it's a little bit of good news. We did have a little bit more bad news. So what's crazy is on I think it was the last episode, and my memory is fuzzy, so forgive me, but I think I was on the last episode. We kicked it off by saying goodbye to Ned Beatty from Superman the movie. And strangely enough, we're sort of kicking this one off with another goodbye, because we lost another very important player of Superman the movie, and that is director Richard Donner. He passed away last week. Yeah, he passed away last week at the age of 91. So obviously, Superman the movie, classic, landmark, live action superhero telling that really set the stage for, I think, all live action superhero films. But it's not just that. Donner was just one of the best in the 70s, 80s, and even into the 90s. He was just a consummate pro. And when we were when the internet was sort of grieving and celebrating his life and his legacy, what a legacy this guy had. It's just so far beyond Superman. He made one of the most influential and iconic horror movies of all time with The Omen. He made one of the most iconic and influential superhero movies of all time with Superman the movie. He made one of the most iconic family adventure films with The Goonies. He made one of the most iconic 80s action franchises with Lethal Weapon. And then he made one of the most beloved comedies of all time with Scrooge. So not only did he just make classics, one classic after another, I just am so impressed with how he was able to segue between genres: horror, action, superhero, family, comedy. He could do it all. He was a journeyman director and just, again, truly one of the best. So such a shame that we had to say goodbye, but 91 years old is a hell of a run. And my God, talk about, everybody called him a legend, and I agree, he's a legend, but legend doesn't even feel like enough because of when you look at his legacy, his body of work, the films he made, and the people he mentored along the way. This guy was the best of the best, and it's always sad to say goodbye, but oh my God, talk about immortal. He's going to live forever.
Absolutely. And by all accounts, our brothers in podcasting over at Please Rewind actually just dropped an episode the other day, kind of a discussion reminiscing about, some of their favorite downer moments and movies and such like that. That was a good episode. I wasn't able to make that one because I needed an attitude adjustment, and that wasn't the episode I needed to do it. So, by all accounts, not only is he an amazing filmmaker, but one hell of a human being too.
Yeah.
And to hear that sort of thing said about somebody with that status level in the industry is indeed rare, as far as I can tell. You hear stories about, some legendary directors, they're difficult to work with or work for, and that never seemed to be the case with him. And everybody had nothing but kind, genuine things to say about him in his passing. And I enjoy hearing stuff like that. The whole "don't meet your heroes" thing. I get that concept, but that doesn't seem to be something that would have applied to him.
Yeah,
and
no.
I really like that about him quite a bit, in fact.
Yeah, I agree. The amount of love and outpouring that we saw for him from the people who worked with him. And even if you look at the situation with Superman and Superman 2 and how he left the project and how, really the cast really stood up for him and they, really had his back. Margot Kidder, she fought tooth and nail for Richard Donner. The loyalty he inspired in his coworkers, and again, the mentoring. I think it's one of the coolest stories in comics is what happened with Jeff Johns. And I know people are very mixed on Jeff Johns these days, but the way that Jeff Johns was trying to break in, and he was cold calling, and he got Richard Donner on the phone, and Richard Donner's like, "Hey, give this kid an internship." And so Richard Donner, he mentored Jeff Johns and Kevin Feige. So again, not only did he set the template for a superhero film with Superman the movie, he also then mentored two of the biggest players in superhero media in modern times. So his legacy just lives on that way. And anyone who had the power and influence that Richard Donner had and was still willing to give some kid who had the guts to call him a shot and give him an internship, it shows, it just shows a level of humanity that I think we could all aspire to, as he was never so detached and in his own world of being the Richard Donner that he wasn't afraid to give some kid a chance who wanted to learn.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you saw it, you might have, because it's been floating around everywhere, because even I've seen it in my social media absence. The story about the crewman that worked for him that had the car that caught on fire. Did you catch that one?
Oh God, I don't know if I did.
Okay, well, this crewman, and I don't remember what he did on the crew, but he worked for Donner. He was working on a picture. I don't even know if it was specified which one. And he was driving to the set, and his car caught on fire.
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't have the money to pay for the repairs, and he thought basically he'd have to, fix it and then sell it to recover the money or whatever. And Donner somehow got wind of this and paid for the repair on the vehicle, which in and of itself is pretty amazing. But it turns out it was a Mitsubishi, and Donner contacted Mitsubishi trying to get some help with this known issue apparently that the vehicle had, and they wouldn't return his call. So then he this is done from memory of reading it a week or so ago, and my memory's terrible, but as I recall, he called and left a message that said, if you don't do something about this, I am going to put your vehicle in my next movie and have it crash into like a busload of nuns or something like that. So, having it do some tragic thing like that, that may not even been specifically what it was, but it was something along those lines. Maybe it was orphans instead of nuns. I don't remember, but it tickled me reading this story because this guy was helping out somebody. I don't even know if he knew the cat's first name. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people that work on a movie set, and he was, just doing it to help out. He wasn't doing it because he had to, or because it was his nephew or anything like that. He just was lending a helping hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's great. And again, not only was he, a great filmmaker, and again, just made a lot of terrific films, but yeah, to use his powers for good in many different ways, and just speaks to what kind of person he was. So, and all the testimonials we have seen from those who knew him, those who loved him, just really reinforce that. So yeah, nothing but love for Richard Donner. He was just awesome.
The other thing that I've seen from so many people is the thing that they're going to miss the most about him is his laugh. Apparently he had a very distinct laugh, and he was always laughing on set. So, to have that kind of an attitude or personality or outlook is seems to me it might be a pretty rare thing in the industry. I mean, I don't work in it. I don't know a lot of people in it, but you don't hear a lot of stories about, this guy was an amazing director with an amazing eye, which, he had all of these traits of an amazing director. But, the thing that people are talking about is him as a person versus, the work. And that's not to discredit the work in any way. In fact, I've been watching Richard Donner films for most of this week. Of course, I went back and watched the Lethal Weapon franchise because that's one of my favorite action franchises ever. I watched Conspiracy Theory, which, by most accounts, it's not a great movie, but it's enjoyable enough. And watching that, I'm thinking to myself, this is a lesser Donner film, and it's still pretty captivating and entertaining and interesting.
Yeah.
Not every director can say that. Like, I love Spielberg. Spielberg's got movies I have no interest in ever watching again. Mm-hmm. And again, it's the same thing. Donner was so, as you mentioned, he bounced in and out of various genres, and he did them all at the top of the game. I mean, he didn't do horror worse than he did comedy, worse than he did action. I mean, he just did them all at that level, which, I mean, that's a great testament to his talent, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. He was such a pro that even his lesser movies are still pretty good. Just because he's Richard Donner. So yeah, I mean,
last night and this morning I was watching Assassins because it was on sale for like $6.99 in the iTunes store, and I'm like, okay, I don't have it on Blu-ray. I haven't watched it in probably a decade or more, and I watched it. And is it an amazing film? No, but man, that thing is really entertaining, and it's pretty captivating from beginning to end.
Yeah, definitely. I honestly forgot that was his until I think I saw you and someone else post it in the Real Fans group. As I was like, oh God, I forgot that was a Donner one. But you're right. Even something like that's considered not one of his best, still pretty darn good. So yeah. Anyway, it's always sad to say goodbye, but his legacy will live on, and he also brought Superman to the big screen in a way that worked for so many people and really set the template for what a great superhero film could be. I mean, without Superman the movie, we don't get Batman 89, and we don't get Batman Begins, and we don't get Wonder Woman, and the fact that movie can still influence as many great superhero films now really says a lot for that too. So.
And it still holds up great. I mean, at 43 years old or whatever it is and counting, it still holds up great. If somebody told me that movie was made yesterday outside of a couple of haircuts and clothing choices, I'd probably believe them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I know that it got popular for a while before I left social media to kind of have the bounce back and forth of, Man of Steel was better or whatnot. And you know what? I love Man of Steel. I love Superman the movie. It's okay to like both. But anybody who doesn't acknowledge the fact that Donner and that film are the godfathers of the superhero movie genre are in absolute denial with themselves.
Yeah. No, it's so true, because I see a lot of that of people saying, oh, Man of Steel's better than Superman the movie, or Superman the movie's better than Man of Steel. And I've never been able to choose, because I just love them both so much. And you can't make me choose. Like, it's just like I can love Batman 89 and Batman Begins. Like, I feel the same way about Superman the movie versus Man of Steel. I think they're both great Superman films, and they're great.
They're there and present for us to love. Nobody's making you choose. You can love both, and I personally love both.
Yeah, totally. Well, all right. Rest in power, Richard Donner. What a legend. But yeah, his work will live on forever. So another goodbye, always bittersweet, but great to see the outpouring of love for him.
There was okay, just real quick, as quick as I can. I've been hunting this thing forever, and I can't find it anyplace. They used to do these things. They did it right before Lethal Weapon 2 came out and right before Lethal Weapon 3 came out, where they were doing it as kind of like a documentary where they were following around Mel Gibson and some of the cast doing behind the scenes stuff, but it was really slapsticky. And there was this thing where, Gibson came on camera and he's like, I think it was before Lethal Weapon 2. I'm not sure. Anyway, he's like, I'm having a real bad problem, and I can't figure this out. I have a very important decision that I have to make, and I can't make the decision. I need some advice. And one of the smartest, wisest men I know is Dick Donner, and I'm going to go talk to him and get his advice on how to solve this issue that I have. So the camera cuts out, and the next thing you see is Mel Gibson's in Dick Donner's bedroom at like 3:30 in the morning. He's like, Dick, I need your help. And Dick's like, what do you need, Mel? He's like, I can't make a decision. And he holds up like a red flannel and a blue flannel. He's like, I don't know which one of these to wear. He's like, wear the red one. Get the hell out of my bedroom.
Nice.
I just remember that. I wish I could find those things on YouTube or somewhere. I've scoured the earth and can't. But anyway, it just shows that humor again that these people all had on that set. Everybody on that set was having an absolute blast making those Lethal Weapon movies, and it really showed through in the finished product.
Yeah, definitely. I could go on a Lethal Weapon tangent, but I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try to stick to DC. But anyway, again, really great to see the love for Donner out there. We'll move forward to some streaming news. So the Green Lantern series at HBO Max continues to take shape, which is great. It's always good to see progress and forward movement, and it looks like we might have a Sinestro. This was something I completely missed until I was pulling up news for this episode. So actor Tobias Menzies is apparently in talk to suit up as Sinestro. So this was reported by Illuminerdi, who a couple of the scoops that I've got here for the news came from Illuminerdi. So either they're on a roll or, take it as you will. Apparently, though, this is going to be a version of Sinestro that is earlier on when he is still a Green Lantern before he becomes the Yellow Lantern, before he becomes the enemy. And this actor, Menzies, he is most well known for Game of Thrones. He was Edmure Tully. Do you know who that is? Remember who that was?
Tully. I feel like I should, because I'm kind of in the process of rewatching Game of Thrones. I'm like in the middle of season 5 right now, but I know the Tully name, but I can't quite place it.
What's funny is I see them. I go, oh yeah, I totally remember him from Game of Thrones. But yeah,
he's obviously not one of the people I absolutely loved or absolutely hated, or I would remember him.
Yeah.
Because there's so many of those in that show. But
yeah. And then he's also on The Crown, but I don't watch The Crown, so
never seen it.
Yeah, can't speak to that. But it's one of those things where when I look at the picture, I was like, oh, this is a bit of an offbeat choice. But as soon as you see the picture and you remember him from Game of Thrones, I go, oh, it's actually kind of smart. I think that could work really well. So pull up the picture when you get a chance. What's
the name again? Something Tobias?
Yeah, Tobias Menzies.
Okay, I'll do that while you're speaking there.
But I want to say his character was involved in the Red Wedding. I want to say it was his wedding, but I could be wrong.
You may be right, and he looks like Joel Osteen with a different haircut. I don't know. I can't place it, but I mean, with that pedigree, The Crown is very well regarded. Obviously, Game of Thrones is extremely well regarded, so there's good pedigree there. So even if you don't know the name or even the face, I mean, that bodes well for this series. That it's somebody that's packing that kind of weight behind him, I guess.
Totally. And when I see the picture again, I go, oh, I can totally see Sinestro there. And so I think it's exciting. Again, I have good memories of, even though they're vague memories of him from Game of Thrones. And it is, again, like I said, good to see Sinestro is going to be in Green Lantern, and I can't wait for it.
I mean, if Sinestro's going to be there, Hal's got to be too, right?
This could be before he meets and mentors Hal.
That's true also, yeah. A lot of speculation was given that they were going to go straight to Stewart.
John Stewart, yeah.
Yeah. Stewart or Rayner, or even
Guy Gardner. I feel like
I think every name was mentioned except for Hal Jordan. And I'm like, most of the Lanterns are great, and I really like most of them, but Hal's my guy. That's what I grew up with as Green Lantern. So
I feel like the show is leaving Hal and John Stewart off the table. That's the impression I get. Because they cast Alan Scott, they cast Guy Gardner, now that we've got a Sinestro, but I feel like Hal and John, they're like leaving for something else. I could be wrong, but it is weird that those are the two that we're not hearing a lot about.
Time will tell, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see how it develops. Speaking of Illuminati and HBO Max, they also had... I use scoop loosely. This is very vague news, but I thought it was worth a mention. About the beginning of casting for Batgirl. And this is all it says. It says they're looking to cast an actress in her early 20s for Barbara Gordon / Batgirl. And they also are looking for an actor in their 50s to be Commissioner Gordon. And the villain will be an actor in his 50s or 60s and is described as a disgruntled former firefighter. So early 20s for Barbara Gordon Batgirl, sure, makes sense, which means Commissioner Gordon in the 50s, also, sure, makes sense. The disgruntled firefighter, that to me is the most telling, because I think that could be Firefly, obviously.
That's where my head went immediately, and I can solve the problem right now. Saoirse Ronan and Bryan Cranston, done. Book it.
Okay, I'm down with that. It does feel like if they are casting a different Gordon, though, that this will be its own thing. It will not be Jeffrey Wright's Gordon from the Batman.
I really think, there's obviously potential for this Batgirl to tie into the Snyderverse, or whatever we're going to call it at this point, the continuity films, but clearly the Pattinson Reeves films they're going to go out on its own thing. There's going to be no link to those whatsoever.
Yeah.
With the shared universe stuff, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that, but
yeah. So then the question is this somehow loosely tied to Affleck's version of Batman?
We can cross our fingers and hope.
Yeah, like sort of it is that version of Gotham. But then again, if it's a new Commissioner Gordon, it wouldn't be J.K. Simmons. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fair point too. Yeah. Time will tell on that as well.
Time will tell. But Firefly, interesting, but not the most exciting. I always kind of been like, on Firefly. Not super. I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I don't love him, don't hate him.
I can take or leave him. I'm good either way. But I'm interested to see what's done, because it's not something anybody's toyed around with in live action that I can recall.
Yeah, that's true. Gotham had Firefly.
Like I said, nobody's messed with him in live action.
Oh, and in Gotham it was a she.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's an interesting twist.
So it'll be interesting anyway. Again, it's very vague news at the moment, but something. But the good news is you're not going to have to wait long to see Barbara Gordon in live action, because she is going to be in season 3 of Titans. And as luck would have it, right before we started recording, we got the trailer, or another trailer, I guess it would be, for season 3 of Titans. And we watched it, and I want to know what you thought.
As I was watching it for the first time today, and I never saw the teaser. I didn't see the teaser until after I watched this, because I was like, I wonder what the teaser showed, and it turns out I was excited for stuff that was already in there. But There was a certain song by the Divinals that was playing in my head as I was watching it for about the fourth time.
Well, I only know one
Wow.
song by the Divinals.
I'm color me impressed. That's all I can say. They're doing things in there I never would have dreamed that they were doing. Just seeing the whole bit with the silhouette with the crowbar coming down numerous times. Wow.
Yep.
Which I guess that was in the teaser, but I didn't watch that, so this is all new to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did show that, but this stuff surrounding it has a lot more context and detail in the full trailer, and I thought even that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like watching Jason Todd break into the carnival, and you know me, I'm a sucker for a good abandoned carnival in a comic book, anything, comic book movie, show, anything. So I love that. I love that janky clown animatronic that was cackling. I think it was, yeah. So like getting those extra little beats in there are really cool. I'm with you. I think it's an awesome trailer. I think it looks great.
It's got me pumped for it. I got to tell you, I've been pretty flatlined on the whole season 3 thing because number one, it's been a while since season 2. Number 2, I think season 2 didn't exactly end on the strongest note. No,
Right.
Not that I didn't like the season or anything. I mean, I really do like the show, but it's a show I want to love and I just kind of like at this point.
Mm-hmm.
This looks like it's really coming around.
Yeah.
My other thing that I got really excited about is I think the costumes all look really good for this.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're mixed in throughout the season and they aren't held up for the 13th freaking episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do love the show, but that love comes with caveats because you're right. Like both season 1 and season 2 had pretty disappointing resolutions.
They can't seem to stick the landing.
Yeah, they can't seem to stick the landing. It's like they're going so great, and then they just sort of lose their way along the way. There's still a lot to like there, and even a lot to love. But I really hope they've learned those lessons because you're right. So far, this trailer looks awesome. I love what they're doing. Of course, I'm excited that they're going to Gotham and they're bringing in Barbara and they're bringing in the Scarecrow. I think in Arkham, I think all of that is great, but it doesn't feel like it's at the expense of the Titans show. I feel like, whatever's going on with Starfire and the introduction of Blackfire and Hawk and Dove and what's happening with them, like all of that still seems to be at the forefront. So I see no reason why the Titans can't have an adventure in Gotham and it still be very much Titans. I also think that, much like the rest of the show, they're very much doing a remix on things that we know from the comic canon. So the death in the family, the death of Jason Todd, the Red Hood, obviously that happens in a much quicker succession here than it was in the comics. It seems like this is a Batman who is retired, and that opens things up for Red Hood, and that allows Dick to get more involved. And so changing some of those details along the way makes for, I think, an interesting narrative and something where we don't necessarily know where it's going, even though we've seen some of those touch points along the way.
Yep.
But no,
Who's the actress playing
awesome.
Barbara? I didn't recognize her.
Well, we talked about her when she was cast, but yeah, she's not someone I was familiar with. But I mean, I do love the line of something about like, following in your father's footsteps can be dangerous. And he's like, oh, really, Commissioner Gordon?
That was pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The
other thing I wanted to point out is have we gotten any confirmation of Scarecrow in costume for this?
No, not yet.
Because I tell you one thing I do not want, and this show will not be above it. I know they won't. I don't want Jonathan Crane doing the Hannibal Lecter thing for 13 episodes.
Yeah. I think that's fine as an introduction to kind of show, here's where we are, here's where he is. But yeah, he's got to suit up. If it's just an actor behind bars, that's going to be very disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, and this isn't really what I want, but at the very least, give us flashbacks of how he was apprehended by Batman or something so I can see him in the freaking costume.
Yeah. No, I agree. Especially because the costume work on Titans is so good. Like, everyone looks great. Red Hood here looks great. The Nightwing costume looks great. The new Starfire costume looks great. Like, even Raven has a new look and it looks pretty awesome too. So like they do such good work with costumes. I want to see them do Scarecrow.
I almost didn't recognize Raven, but I do like that costume.
Yeah, it looks awesome. And there is a moment in there where a guy's holding like a vial glowing green vial, and I'm like, oh, is that a Scarecrow flashback? Like, that could be him. I'm not sure. So there's potential for it, but you're right. I'd be very disappointed if he doesn't suit up at some point.
Yeah, because they show the scene of Barbara sitting, I think it's behind her desk, and she's like grabbing her arm, and her veins are starting to protrude from her arm. And I'm wondering if that was like a fear toxin getting a hold of her.
Yeah.
Is where my head went with that. So.
Yeah. I agree. But no, I'm with you. I'm super psyched. This one is coming out on August 12th, so very soon.
Right around the corner.
Less than a month. And it's funny, I think Stargirl is August 10th.
August's going to be a heck of a month for DC fans.
Yeah.
We got Suicide Squad coming next month. We got those two shows.
Yeah, like all within like a week of each other.
I imagine Long Halloween Part 2 will be in there.
Yeah. Yeah, all within a week. We've got the Suicide Squad, Stargirl, and Titan Season 3. Hell yeah. Go August.
It's good to be a geek.
Heck yeah. Awesome. No, I agree with you, though. I think the trailer is really great. I hope they've learned lessons from the past seasons. And, you know, I hope that this is the first time where it's an unqualified home run as opposed to like, well, it started great. And then, you know.
Yeah, because this is the first one that's actually being produced under the HBO Max moniker.
Yeah.
And HBO Max, I mean, say what you want about HBO, their quality level for their shows is second to none.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't imagine they're going to be very tolerant of a show not performing up to par. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's cool. Again, more live action DC, which is exciting. Something that is wrapping in production, more live action DC, but this time it's going to be on the big screen, is Black Adam. So they are wrapping principal photography, or they have wrapped principal photography on Black Adam. And good old Dwayne Johnson has shared another little tease on Instagram. I love how engaged and excited he is, but enough with the teases. Let's get a real reveal, damn it. But anyway, here's what he said. It's a photo, and it's from the back. So we see him from the back, and we get a little bit of a look at the texture of the suit, a little bit of a collar, and it looks like he is standing looking at like a very long walkway that is surrounded by debris and destruction. It says, this image of Black Adam from behind gives you a tactile sense of the absolute massive scale and size of our movie. You also see a little of the intricate and beautiful texture detail of Black Adam's bodysuit. This is not your typical DC or Marvel muscle suit. Finally, you get a glimpse of the enormous and appropriate destruction. As we all know, superheroes have a code of justice and don't kill the bad guys, but Black Adam does. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is changing. Anti-hero, man in black, protector of his people, Black Adam.
I hope he's doing this correctly this time, because he was doing a lot of hype up for that Hercules movie that came out.
Yeah.
And if you'll recall, Leroy going ballistic about how awful that movie was and how much bullshit those teases were for that.
I forgot I forgot that movie existed.
Yeah, most people did. But man, he was mad. He was straight up mad.
Wow.
Because he wanted a really good Hercules movie.
Sure.
And
we already have one.
It
came out in 1997.
Well, but anyway, so hopefully he's not just, building the hype train to have it go off the rails at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's great to see his excitement. It's great that he's out there trying to build the hype, but okay, it's time. If you wrap in principal photography, we can see how Black Adam looks.
I imagine it looks like The Rock in a black bodysuit.
I think you're probably right. I mean, the texture in the suit looks very cool. It's very, it almost reminds me of like the Kryptonian undersuits that like Zod wore under the armor.
That's pretty fair. I think that's pretty spot on, actually.
Yeah.
Of course he doesn't need a muscle suit. Christ, if you put 2 inches of padding on him, he's going to look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Which he's going to do, and then star in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
I mean, I'd watch that.
But then we'll root for the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Of course.
He's a sailor. He's in New York. Anyway, very cool. I am looking forward to this movie. I'm just looking forward to getting some more, something a little meatier to chew on. But in the meantime, that's cool.
Everybody's so coy with this pre-production, post-production stuff.
Yep. But the fact that they have shot the whole movie without any leaks to speak of is pretty amazing.
Who directed this again? I forget.
This is, I think, the guy who just did Jungle Cruise with him.
That's right.
Jaume Colette Serra. That's by that is just
something
by,
I wouldn't be able to pronounce even if I knew what it was.
Yeah, I'm saying that by Jaume Colette Serra. I remembered. Okay, great. But yeah, he just did Jungle Cruise, and I actually am really looking forward to Jungle Cruise too.
I'll probably see it.
Is it because I used to work on the Jungle Cruise? Probably, but also it looks pretty darn good.
I'm just a sucker for the movies that have The Rock in it.
Yeah.
I'm that guy.
I also feel like Jungle Cruise is the closest we will get as for an original movie from Disney these days.
Fair point.
So I think it looks cool, but hopefully it'll be great. And then that means that team up between the two of them is like a good partnership, and that bodes well for Black Adam. Also, it's hard to dislike Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt, right? Like they're just, come on. They're just two of the coolest.
Emily Blunt? What? Did you say Emily Blunt?
Yeah.
She's in Jungle Cruise?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm watching it.
It's two of the coolest people ever. All right. Well, Black Adam is coming. Do you know what else is coming, no matter what you say, Jamie?
Don't say it.
It's The Flash. The Flash is coming. The Flash is shooting right now, dude.
Trailer?
Now.
Trailer?
You wear me out. This is why I need to take a month in between episodes.
Hey, fool me 9 times.
You bitch. Okay. So it is happening. It's shooting. Oh, and I did not pull it up, but there were even some spy pics of them shooting.
Was it Scoot McNairy wearing green socks?
It was. He's going to be the Flash.
Awesome.
Yeah, it checks out. So there were some spy pics. I did not post them. I did not share them because I don't believe in that. But what the point is, the spy pics prove they're shooting this movie.
Do I have to get the cricket sound off my phone? I mean, it's kind of effort.
It's fine. It's you know what?
My point.
No, take a break. But yeah, the spy pics showed Ezra Miller's Barry Allen, showed Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne, it showed Supergirl, Sasha Calle.
My 14-year-old stupid immature self heard it showed Ezra Miller's butt, and I immediately, for some reason, thought you were going to say it showed Ezra Miller's bare ass.
Oh, I mean,
now I'm interested in looking at these pics.
I'd watch that too, but is it Sasha Calle? Yeah, Sasha Calle is Supergirl. So anyway, so yes, we got some unofficial peeks at all of them. Again, I didn't share it, but still exciting, good progress. And then there was like a behind the scenes promotional video that started making the rounds, and it's been pulled. So it leaked. It wasn't supposed to be out there, but it showed Ezra Miller and Andy Muschietti talking about the Flash, talking about their approach. And it was coupled with some concept art. And the concept art was actually really cool. Did you get a chance to see it before it got pulled? I assume it's still out there somewhere, but
until you mentioned it before we started recording, I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, so. It did. There's a couple interesting things about the concept art. And again, like, I'm trying to speak kind of vaguely in case people don't want to be spoiled. It's not my job to spoil these things. But it's obviously a lot of the Flash in the new suit. It's a lot of Keaton in the suit too, which is awesome.
Oh, so we're talking about something that's not a glorified cameo, perhaps.
It's what it seems. And in the concept art was also the Burton Batmobile.
Ooh.
So that's awesome. And then within the concept art, there were things that were blocked out that said spoiler. And it looked like it was like a third character who was with the Flash and Batman, but they kept blocking it out. So
curious.
That I was intrigued by, because
obviously,
I don't think
it's not Supergirl.
Yeah, because I don't think it's Supergirl. We know about her, right? It's not Ben Affleck. We know about him.
That's what I was going to say. What if it's Affleck with that? I mean, if they already know he's going to be in it, why hide it at this point?
Yeah.
even if he's going to have more involvement than maybe we initially hoped, instead of, what we assume will probably be a glorified cameo for him.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we know he's in there, why hide that?
Yeah.
There must be something else to it.
Yeah. So that I found the most intriguing, whereas I was like, what character could be joining them that they would feel the need to block?
You got the gears turning now.
I know. And I like that I don't know. I think that's really cool. That's exciting.
I'm content not knowing until the movie comes out, frankly.
Yeah.
If it ever does.
Which it will. So, because we already know, we know enough, but I love the idea of keeping some really cool surprises under wraps. And I have seen some fans who are frustrated who go, we still don't know who the villain is. I'm like, isn't that kind of fun? Yeah. Isn't that fun that we can find out when we go see the movie? Like, don't we complain about movies where we know too much going in anyway? So isn't it cool that they would keep some surprises in store for us when we go see it?
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there, and I have no idea. Okay. I'm not spoiling this for anybody. I have no idea. I'm not even going to speculate that it is, but what if it's somebody like Wonder Woman and Gal Gadot is going to be in it? Mm-hmm. I don't want to know that until the movie comes out.
Yeah.
I understand she'd be a selling point or something like that, but that surprise, I've been saying how I would have liked to have been surprised with BVS with her.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've heard me go on that tangent for years now. But my point being, I would rather have some stuff held back for a change.
Yeah.
I don't need to know all this stuff before I set foot into a movie that I'm already going to buy a ticket for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Nope, I'm with you. So I think that's really cool. It's exciting. I can't wait. But again, the video, it has been pulled. Doesn't mean it's out. Doesn't mean it's not out there. Maybe it is. I haven't looked, but it was cool nonetheless.
What if it's Henry Cavill's Superman? What if everybody finally gets their wish? Wouldn't you rather be surprised? I would.
Yeah.
I mean, Supergirl's going to be in it. It stands to reason Superman would have some tie into the film, right?
Yeah.
So,
well,
anyway,
and that's just it. Is like, and there are, as always, there are rumors that Henry Cavill might be back as Superman in either The Flash or in Black Adam. Who knows? But again, yeah, let's keep the surprise. It'll be. I hope he does. I hope that's true. But yeah, let's wait and see.
One good thing about being absent from most social media platforms now is I'm blissfully ignorant of so much of this stuff, and
that's
it is
great.
Actually kind of refreshing.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I respect that. So, The Flash is coming November 4th, 2022. Mark your calendar, Jamie. Go buy your ticket right now.
Trailer.
All right. Well, that's fine. Anyway, something else that has started production is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So we talked about this last time too, where James Wan shared the production meeting photos, the title, everything, but they've actually started production. They've started filming now. Because he shared on his Instagram the little clapperboard, and it says Necris, and it's amongst a bunch of like ice and snow. And so what did it say? It just said day one, hashtag Aquaman 2. So the working title of Necris, I didn't know this, but fortunately our good pal, no, it's not our good pal Jay. I thought it was Jay Yaws who shared it, but I guess I will give it is Sean Aun from Batman News. He said, Necris has history in the lore of Aquaman comics. It's the domed city that passes in and out of Aquaman's dimension, so it never appears in the same place twice.
Oh, so it's like the castle in Krull.
Sure.
All right. You never seen Krull?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you talk about an 80s sci-fi action fantasy staple. Get on that.
Okay.
I highly recommend it.
So it is unclear whether that will be a big part of the story or whether they just pulled that name from the comics to use as the code name for the film while it's in production. Who knows? But interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's news to me. And I got to tell you that this title doesn't do anything to really warm my blood, but I'm certainly excited because I really loved the first one, so I'm excited that the second one is coming.
Oh, you don't like the title, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom?
I have no strong feelings either way. I read it and I was like, really? That's what we're going with? All right.
All right, I dig
I don't
it.
have any problem with it necessarily. It's just, if it was something like Revenge of the Shaggy Man or something like that, now I'm in. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
For anybody who knows who Shaggy Man is. Anyway.
So anyway, nice to know that James Wan is out there making Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. That comes out on December 16th of 2022. 6 weeks after
that one, I believe. That one I believe.
Okay, great. So more DC films are coming down the pike, but as we mentioned earlier, one is almost here, and that is the Suicide Squad. So James Gunn is out there. He's very excited. He's talking about the Suicide Squad. The cast is starting to talk too. They're really ramping up the promotion. And he did a Twitter Q&A where some folks were asking him, like, which other characters he considered. And so here's what he said. He said, when I first considered taking the job of writing the Suicide Squad, I kept a file folder of characters I was considering. Here are just a few of many that didn't make the cut for now. And then he continued, every character in the Suicide Squad was chosen for a purpose, great or small, and although I love many of these other characters, they didn't serve the story quite as well. He said, I am, of course, open to using them in the future, and there are many more wonderful DC Comics characters where these came from. See the Suicide Squad in theaters next month. So the characters he shared were Livewire, Punch and Julie, Black Spider, Deathstroke, Man-Bat, Plastique, Chemo,
yeah.
KG Beast, Solomon Grundy, the Rainbow Creature, Gunhawk and Gun Bunny, and Knockout.
Punch and Julie, is that the ones that were in Doomsday Clock?
Yes.
Okay. They were interesting.
Yeah. So interesting. Some characters that are very well known that I think would have been very cool. Oh, and then I think he also said Killer Frost and Mr. Freeze were also on the list, as well as Bronze Tiger, but he took out Bronze Tiger because he didn't think he was enough of a villain, which is fair. So it sounded like he said he only wanted to use people who were truly villains, not anti-heroes. But yeah, it's interesting. Some of these are biggies, like Solomon Grundy, Mr. Freeze, Man-Bat, Deathstroke.
Man-Bat would have been really cool. I mean, that would have been cool.
Yeah. And then, much like a lot of the ones he chose, some of these I am not super familiar with. Plastique sounds familiar. The Rainbow Creature, no idea who that is. Gunhawk and Gun Bunny, nope, no clue.
Livewire, that's a Superman villain.
Yeah, I do like Livewire. I think that's a good choice. But yeah, so a very interesting collection. But yeah, before I chime in, what do you think about his comments about choosing the right villains for the movie?
I mean, this movie has me very apprehensive, to say the least, because tonally speaking, it really feels like something I am not into. But as far as these characters, I mean, he's got some cool ones in there already, but he's got some ones that I'm just like, huh, who's that? If he would have had like Grundy and Man-Bat and Mr. Freeze and some of those other ones in there, I'd have been way less nervous about it.
Yeah.
Even though, it probably still wouldn't have changed the tone of the film, but at least I have more attachment to some of these characters than some of the ones that are already in it. So it's interesting. I mean, they obviously gave him carte blanche to pretty much do whatever he wanted, and this is what he wanted to do. So, I mean, credit to WB and James Gunn for that, I guess.
Yeah.
Even if it's not something that appeals to me and my sensibilities, I mean, at least they let him do it the way he wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I mean, and I have mixed feelings on it because, yeah, I worry a little tonally about the film, but at the same time, it's a big DC movie. And the collection of characters he did end up choosing is so random, and some of them I'm really excited about, and some of them I'm like, I'll wait and see. But I do think it's fun that he really dug deep and was, and looked at everyone, like from the biggies to the really obscure and everything in between. I think that's really cool. And hopefully when we see the movie, it'll all make sense why he picked who he picked. And, like he said, he's open to using any of these in the future. So if the movie is great and the movie is successful, I'm all for seeing some of these other characters join the team in one way or the other. You're right. Mr. Freeze and Man-Bat are pretty exciting. Solomon Grundy. Grundy is a good one, obviously. It's just funny. I feel like each, you only get one monster. So in the first one, you had Killer Croc. This one, you get Killer Shark.
King Shark.
King Shark. And then, so yeah, maybe Grundy's the monster in the third. So yeah, interesting. Kind of fun to hear some of the different options that he explored.
I will forgive any and every tonal discrepancy with this film to my own taste if it ends the way I truly want it to end. And that would be kill everybody. From Polka Dot Man to Harley. Kill all of them. Flag. Everybody. And then like the last shot of the scene, just have Waller just kind of, not even spike the camera, but just have her go, well, shit, now I have to start all over again. That's what I want from this movie. I don't care what happens up to that point. If it ends like that, this is movie of the year. Mark it.
Wow. All right. I'm not going quite that far, but I respect your opinion. So very cool. And then of course we are going to get to spend some more time with Harley Quinn. That's why I'm not totally with you. Is because I'm like, I don't want you to kill Harley. I love Harley and I want her around.
I don't have any problem with Harley per se, but man, how much testicular fortitude would that take to off that character?
I mean, true, but
and it's comics. It's not like she would have to stay dead.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So Margot Robbie, speaking of Harley Quinn, she just recently did an interview too, and I mean, maybe you're right, because in this interview she said she doesn't know when she's playing Harley again.
See, there you go. I'm right. We all know how my predictions work out, people. Book this. That's your mortgage on.
Yep, you're always spot on.
Between this and my box office predictions, boy, I'm just always on it.
Yep, you're always right on the ball. You're like the three-nippled psychic from Mallrats. All right, so here's what Margot Robbie said. She said, it was kind of back-to-back filming Birds and then filming this, so I was kind of like, ooh, I need a break from Harley because she's exhausting. I don't know when we're going to see her. I'm just as intrigued as everyone else is. And then she also hadn't seen Zack Snyder's Justice League, and so she learned about Harley's fate from the little epilogue in Justice League, and she's like, what? I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me. So, Margot, watch it. It's really great. And then she talked a little bit about how the continuity works with the DC films. She said, I guess it's kind of like the comics. The film version of the DC universe, I actually think they're a lot like the comics. You pick up one comic and something's happening. Then you pick up the next comic and maybe that character's not alive. Maybe that character is not with that person. Maybe that character looks different. Every movie is its own sort of thing, and I think that works in the comic book world, and I think that works in the DC film world as well. It's not like Marvel, where everything is more obviously linked together in a more linear way. It feels like there's so many adjacent stories, worlds, and films happening at the same time, just like there are in the comics. So yeah, I didn't know that, but it doesn't necessarily change what other people are able to do with this universe, I don't think. What one director decides, I don't think dictates what another director might be able to pick up and do with the world and the characters, which is fun. I think that's an appealing aspect for directors in the DC world. They can make it their own, the way James Gunn did. He didn't have to be beholden to the version that David Ayer set up. He could pick it up and make it his own, which I'm sure was more appealing to him. So, yeah, what do you think of these comments from Margot?
I don't know that I have a lot to say about it, but it's, I guess, intriguing that it's kind of a mystery. I mean, as hot of a character as Harley seemed to be, you would think that they would have her lined up with some other project already. But, if she doesn't want to do it, they're obviously going to kind of let her do what she wants with it, too. I guess that's what I take away from it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I get wanting to take a break, and we've had 3 movies that feature Harley Quinn, and I'm very open to others, Gotham City Sirens, Harley and Ivy, whatever. So it makes sense that there's not an immediate plan for something else. I mean, she's very busy. She's very in demand. She's a producer in her own right. She's got other things going on. So I kind of get that it's I'm not sure what's next for Harley. But I really like her comments about the way the continuity works in the universe, which is it's like the comics where you pick up one comic and Harley's doing this with these people, and you can pick up another book and she's doing something else, and it all sort of coexists. It's the same Harley, it's the same character, but it's not as beholden to the continuity. I think that's actually a great way to approach these films. Because
I've heard people say that about the Snyderverse films or whatever we're calling them nowadays. That's just what I reflexively call it.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people say that right along. So, I mean, that doesn't come as a surprise to me. In fact, I guess I'll say I do like the fact that she acknowledges that.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think it's a good approach for these films because it allows for some continuity where you go, yeah, this is our Harley, Margot's our Harley, or whoever, whatever. Ezra Miller's our Flash. Gal Gadot's our Wonder Woman, whatever. And you have this is our hero, but it just allows for a lot more flexibility from movie to movie. Because Suicide Squad, yes, like Birds of Prey is still in the continuity of Suicide Squad, absolutely. But it feels so different. It's still very much its own thing. So they can kind of have it both ways, and this is the same thing. It's obviously connected to the first Suicide Squad and even Birds of Prey, but it feels very much its own, and they can continue doing that. And so I think I like the freedom that gives to future projects while still having some consistency with the actors or the characters and everything. It still works that way. So I think it's a nice change from what they have to do at Marvel, which is everything very much has to fit perfectly into the ongoing continuity. This gives just a little more freedom, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
I don't either. And I do have to be the Debbie Downer and bring up a point. I do wonder if Birds of Prey was more of a financial and critical success, if we would know what Harley's next thing was going to be.
No, I think that's fair. Is that, it was a box office disappointment. I don't think that's speaking out of turn. And you're right. If it had blown the doors off and just been a huge, massive success, yeah, it would have been a lot easier to go, oh, we're doing another one. We're doing a sequel, or the sequel is Sirens.
The Gotham City Sirens.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I do agree with that. I hope they don't abandon that world. I would love to see the Birds of Prey again, in one, whether it be in another movie or in an HBO Max series. I would love more of them. I think they were all great versions of those characters. But you're right. I think that it was I don't know what a middling. I don't even know if I'd call it a middling success. It did okay. That's not what anybody wanted, and so I do think that did, I think, tap the brakes a little bit on future Harley projects.
Yeah, and I like that movie. I don't love it. I have some issues with the movie, but there are some spectacular actors in this film. I mean, obviously we know Margot's a great actress. God, what's she going? I think she dropped the bell. I think it's just Journey Smollett now. She was good in the movie. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say I didn't like her in the movie, but I watched the HBO series Lovecraft Country, and she was the female lead in that, and she was magnificent in that show.
Yeah.
And was it Mary Elizabeth Winstead? Is that her name? Mm-hmm. Is also
she's amazing.
A spectacular actress. Yeah. And she was so limited in that film, and I was kind of disappointed with that. I mean, I say this all because I think another installment where you get more expanded roles for these characters would have really served well. And I'm kind of disappointed that we might have seen the last of it,
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I love, I love Black Canary. I love the Huntress. I would love more of them. And I hope the door isn't completely closed on that. Well, we'll see. Maybe, the Suicide Squad will be a massive success. People will be in line for much more Harley Quinn, and we'll see where it goes from there. So we'll see how that goes.
Good enough.
But there you go. That's it for news for now. I'm sure I missed some things here and there. It happens, but we've always got another chance whenever we get to do this again. But because it's been a month, the mailbox is pretty full, so let's see if we can get through some of your messages and see what you fine feathered finks have on your mind as we crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all my
right, first one here is from our pal Tom Fallows. It says, hope you're doing well, and congrats, Andy, on your wedding. I hope you and Catherine have a lifetime of happiness. Andy, do what heroes should do. I'm sure that joke has been played out enough in the interim of shows. Anyway, here's my question. What B or C level villain would you like to see featured in a Batman movie? For me, it's Calendar Man or Clock King. It would make for some good themed movies. Clock King meets Speed. I hope you have a great show. Tom Fallows. Thanks, Tom. What do you think? Oh, and thank you for the congratulations. The wedding went off flawlessly, and certainly appreciated.
If I may, the high five in the middle of the ceremony was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my entire 46 years on God's green earth. I love that.
Oh, great. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was unplanned, but it worked out.
It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
All right. B or C level villain in a Batman film.
I mean, since it's on the brain, I'm going to say Man-Bat.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think it's fair to call him B level. And I think he would be a really cool character if somebody, came in and really did I would lean more towards a darker type of eerie story with that character, just because, he kind of has a Halloween-y kind of look. Mm-hmm. I'd be all about that.
Yeah. Oh man, who would I count? Mad Hatter. I like Mad Hatter.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I always thought he was a little underrated, and I think you could do some fun things with him. So yeah, I'd be into the Mad Hatter. Trying to think of anyone even more obscure. I mean, what I am looking forward to most in the Suicide Squad is Polka Dot Man. So if we're not going to get him in a Batman movie, I think it's cool we're getting him in a Suicide Squad movie.
Onomatopoeia.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that character's just kind of vanished since Kevin Smith doesn't write comics anymore. So, And I always thought it was an interesting concept, albeit obscure, but interesting.
Yeah. All right, next message is from Mark Bickford. It says, hey guys, I sent an email offering Tom Brady and Gronk shirts for Henry, and Jamie wasn't on the show to translate. I asked about Batman having to kick wild dingoes out of his way on the streets of an Australian Gotham, and Brendan wasn't around to offer pointers. So now that I've mentioned both of those, I'd like to say hi to Sean Gerber, because I'm sure that's will be on the next episode with his annual appearance. First question. Does Zack Snyder have any F's left to give? I couldn't believe he let loose his little cannon in the middle of last week's kerfluffle. Why do you think he felt the urge to dive into this one? So that was about the Batman Catwoman thing. Second, when fans say restore the Snyderverse, other than Justice League 2 and 3, what do you think they think will happen? I think it's well established that except for his appearance in The Flash, Ben Affleck doesn't want to play Batman anymore. And he doesn't want the off-screen drama that goes with it. Plus, he's dating Jennifer Lopez again. He doesn't need any more drama in his life. I'm just waiting to find out they're gearing up for Geely 2. So other than the Justice League films, what's actually available and needing to be restored? Finally, after The Flash, when or if do you think we might see a new DCEU Justice League film, and who do you think might be in the lineup? Thanks, as always, for the great show. Thanks, Mark. Okay, so I guess the first thing, Zack Snyder, I love when he tweeted out about the whole Batman Catwoman thing. I thought it was hilarious. And was
this involving the Bat Heroes Don't Do That BS?
Yes.
I don't think I was involved in that discussion, so I'm just going to say publicly, if you're not doing that, you're no hero to me. I can tell you that.
All right. Zack Snyder tweeted out, it was artwork of Batman doing that. And he just said,
okay.
And he just said canon. And I want to say DC made him pull it down, which is give me a break. Come on. Everyone was talking about it. It's free publicity. I thought it was funny. And then, so I guess the question, Snyderverse, when fans say restore the Snyderverse, what do you think they really want, Jamie?
Man of Steel sequel, Martian Manhunter movie, get his version of a Green Lantern in there somewhere. I'd like to see what his version of Hal would have looked like, or Jon Stewart. I mean, whatever he wanted to use. Who else am I not thinking of? I mean, obviously the Justice League stuff goes without saying because I want to see the conclusion with the Dark Side stuff. But
yeah,
I mean, I would say the biggest of those being the Man of Steel sequel that everybody's been clamoring for 5 years, 8 years, however long it's been that people have been asking for.
yeah.
And I know BVS is technically a Man of Steel sequel, but I mean a legitimate Superman solo film in the same lineage with Man of Steel.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, obviously it's the Justice League sequels. And, Brendan and I talked about it on a recenter episode where it's really Superman and Batman. Like, those are the two we've lost along the way. And so, yes, if it was Henry Cavill solo films and then Ben Affleck back as Batman in other projects, I think that plus the Justice League sequels really does restore the Snyderverse. So I think those are the pieces that are missing. But to your point, yeah, I just feel like Ben Affleck has mostly moved on. It's really interesting though, because it's very mixed messages, right? How many times has he said he's done, and then he's going to come back for a small role in The Flash? So he's done, but he's still willing to do that. He's done, but he did reshoots for Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I also understand the confusion. If he wanted to come back, I know I'd be behind it 110% because I think he was a great Batman, but I also respect that if he wants to be done, let the man be done. But yeah, I think that's...
I would have agreed with you and had mercy on him, but since he went from Jennifer Garner back to Jennifer Lopez, he's on my shit list right now.
Okay. But anyway, so then the question, when do you think we would get a new DC Justice League film, and who do you think might be in it, Jamie?
I would say we're no sooner than 5 years away from this happening again. Maybe longer, but yeah. I would say 5 years at the very soonest.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's going to be a while. It is a shame because of how much drama happened around Justice League that really does seems to have like poisoned the well a little bit on going back to it. So I think it will be a few years. I don't think it will be forever. I think they will try again. But the question, the question is really, who do they bring back for that? Like, is it the folks left over from Zack Snyder's Justice League? Is it Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman, Ezra Miller's The Flash, and then Jason Momoa's Aquaman, and then they fill it out with other members, in the ongoing continuity, or introduce new members? Maybe. It's a great question. I don't know how you do it.
They've got their emergency parachutes now. And I by saying that, I mean, we technically don't have a Batman and kind of sort of don't have a Superman right now, but we do have a Batgirl coming and a Supergirl already here.
Yeah.
So those holes could be technically filled if they wanted to go that route. Me, and again, my predictions are always rock solid. My guess is we won't see another Justice League until they reboot all the characters.
It's possible, yeah.
Gal's young enough, Momoa's young enough, Ezra's young enough, they could still do it with them, but my guess would be they'll just want to revamp the entire universe and start over from square one before they do it again. That's just my own personal guess.
Yeah.
I would guess Gal will probably do one more Wonder Woman movie and bow out. Momoa will probably do at least one more Aquaman movie and maybe bow out. I don't know. Who knows what Ezra's going to do? I mean, there's the key. That Flash movie literally holds the keys to what's going to happen with this universe going forward.
Yeah,
because that's how they can literally hit the reset button on everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we can probably give a more logical and educated answer after we've seen that Flash movie that's allegedly coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I guess since you're saying is one of the big rumors is that after the Flash, Michael Keaton is the Batman in continuity now. So that could be a way that they sidestep it, is the new Justice League could be Gal's Wonder Woman, Momoa's Aquaman, Ezra's The Flash, and then you've got Keaton as Batman as sort of the mentor. Maybe you bring in Supergirl instead of Superman, and then you bring in a Green Lantern or a Hawkgirl or something like that to fill out the roster. You could do it that way too.
Sure.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. But I do hope they don't wait too long, because it's the freaking Justice League. I want to see a new Justice League movie.
Call George Miller. Let's get him on the project.
All right.
I mean, if we're not going to do something with Zack Snyder, I mean, George Miller. Why not?
All right. Next message is from our pal Chris, the Objective Geek. He says, "Hey guys, I have a philosophical question, one that I've been pondering a lot lately. Why do you think us fans care so much about comic book accuracy? It's not like comics are perfect, and with so many iterations over 80 years, there's not one true interpretation anyway. I'm sure nostalgia plays some role, but I think it could be something deeper. Plus, we've seen fairly non-accurate adaptations be successful, from Lucifer to the Dark Knight trilogy. I'm not saying people who want accurate adaptations are dumb, because I'm guilty of it as well. Anyway, hope all is well, Chris." Thanks, Chris. Interesting question. Jamie, what do you think?
I guess my biggest hang up with that is if I have a very strong emotional attachment to a particular story, and this is going to open up a real shit can here. The Infinity Gauntlet. Mm-hmm. I adore that story. It's my favorite crossover event in all of comics history. I like it better than any DC event. I like it. I mean, I read that book no less than once a year, and I have for the 30 years that it's been in publication. I adore it. So I went in with impossible expectations of what that saga was going to bring on a screen. Most people did not. Most people enjoyed those movies. I did not, at least not to the level I felt that I should have or could have. Mm-hmm. So I say that not to get into an argument over what was right and what was wrong. I say that because some people just have very strong attachments to certain things, traits, stories, ideas, and if they don't come across when the thing is transitioned from page to screen, it's disappointing to them. They have expectations. The expectations are not met. That just equals disappointment. That you just can't get around it.
Yep.
It's very much, I mean, even taking comics out of the equation, how many people on this earth, how many people have said the words, "Movie was okay, but the book was better"?
Yep.
It's the same concept as that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well said. I do agree with all of that. I also think that, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what you were saying, Jamie, is I think the want and need for comic book accuracy is because even if we weren't introduced to the characters through the comics, I think many of us fell in love and went deepest with the characters thanks to the comics. So I do think that we just, and it's not just nostalgia, I just think we have a much deeper connection and understanding with the comic versions of the characters because there is so much content to support that. So if you want to fall down a Batman content rabbit hole, the comics will keep you busy forever because there's so much of it, as opposed to movies where there's, only so many movies you can watch, or TV shows or whatever. And so I think because a lot of us fell in love with the characters from the comics, and I think this superhero movie renaissance is still relatively new, all things considered, right? At least the breadth of it is so new that there are so many comic book characters that we read about for years and years and years and years that had never been in live action. And so we have a lot of high expectations for what they should be in their first live action appearance, like Jamie is saying about Thanos. I think we're a little more flexible with something like Batman because through most of our lives, we've already known lots of versions of Batman. But for a character you've always dreamt of seeing on the big screen or in live action or in a TV show or whatever, you carry years of expectations from reading about them and of what they could look like in the real world. And if it doesn't live up to those expectations, you can be disappointed. Or if they change really drastic things about the character, whether it be about the backstory or their look or something. So you bring up some good points, Chris, in that there have been some very inaccurate versions of characters that were still readily accepted and beloved. I always use the example of Two-Face in The Dark Knight. They completely changed how Two-Face came to be and really what happened after that. But it was so well done, nobody cared. And then I say Two-Face in Batman Forever was very accurate. And most, even people who like that movie, admit he's probably the weakest link. So accuracy isn't everything, but I do think that especially for hardcore comic book fans, we spent years reading these characters on the page, and so we have expectations of what they should be in live action. Doesn't mean that directors and creators can't veer away from that. It just means that they're going to have to work harder to make it that much more compelling, to make us not care that it's not what we read for years and years and years.
Well said. And that's the other thing. I mean, and just getting that whole, Pandora's box open with that. We've had so many versions of Batman on screen and Superman on screen in comics and everything else. It's easier to adapt when you've already experienced the fact that even if I don't like this one, there's another one right around the corner. But in my case, with what I'm talking about, I'm not liable to see another live action Thanos in my lifetime. I hope I do, but it's very unlikely to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, that's a whole nother thing for another day. But.
All right. Next message is from Brian Ward, and this is an interesting one. It came, I think, also from the Batman Heroes Don't Do That discussion. It says, "Hey guys, I have a question." Here goes. With all the Batcat sex talk, it got me thinking, what do you think is each of the members of the Justice League favorite sexual position? And he's saying, let's say Justice League cartoon, since a lot of them dated. So here's his thoughts. Superman, missionary, because that's the American way. Wonder Woman, girl on top, because that's the Amazonian way, and they like to dominate.
There is actually an Amazon position. I'm not going to give anybody specific details. You have Google, you have access, go find it.
Yep. Batman, girl on top, because he's tired from a long day of crime fighting and doesn't feel like doing the work. Martian Manhunter, telepathically, like Crisis on Two Earths. Hawk Girl, anything as long as she's not on bottom so she can spread those wings. Green Lantern, whatever Hawk Girl likes. And the Flash, every position to pace himself. Thanks for the great and sometimes erotic podcast. Brian, oh man, what a question. And I applaud your choices here. The only thing I would take exception with is I think Batman never quits. So I don't think he would just lay and do nothing. I think Batman is more committed than that. I think heroes do that. And I think Batman, even though tired from a long night of crime fighting, will rally and still be an active participant in making sure Selina has a great evening.
I'd say he uses an inverted sex swing.
Oh, so he can swing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Upside down and all that other good stuff, yeah. And you should see what he keeps in that utility belt, no? Yeah.
I know, right? Right. He does. Where does he get those wonderful toys?
We're opening all kinds of weird cans today, aren't we?
Oh, yep, definitely. All right. Well, there you go. You good, Jamie? Anything else you want to chime in on that one?
No, that's a whole thing right there. I'm good.
This is interesting. I think I understand this from Jim Scroggs. It says, hey, so who's your superhero or supervillain hall pass? With no additional context.
You got one? I'm gonna have to think about this.
Oh man. I mean, I haven't thought much about it. I guess I would say Wonder Woman.
That's terrifying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what a way to go, though.
I mean, death by snoo-snoo.
Yeah, she does good snoo-snoo. It didn't kill Steve Trevor.
That we know of.
Yeah.
Maybe. Perhaps.
Maybe. Okay, fan theory. The first Wonder Woman film, Steve Trevor is killed when they sleep together, and then everything that happens after that point in the movie is all in her head to reconcile what happened.
I'll go with that.
Super villain. I mean, I want to say Catwoman, but maybe that's just too easy. But I feel like Catwoman would be lots of fun.
I'd say Poison Ivy, but I'm allergic to too many pollens. I don't know. I'd actually have to put thought into that. And it's not something I've thought about since I was probably 12. So, and back then it probably would have been like Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I was reading so much X-Men back in those days.
Oh yeah. Do you remember the X-Men swimsuit issue?
Oh God, yes. Oh, I bought 2 of those because I had to cut one up and hang them on my wall.
I respect the 90s. With like, here you go, horny kids.
How good did Jean Grey look in that?
Here's the X-Men. Yep, I like it. All right, next one's from Stuart from Guernsey. It says, I'm so excited for Michael Keaton's return in The Flash, but one thing I'm surprised that nobody has wondered or asked is what's Tim Burton's take? Surely somebody will ask him in an interview before the movie comes out. Do you think they got his blessing, or if he would be listed as a producer? Anyway, I thought I would see what your opinion is. Also, Andy, I hope your wedding goes well and you have a brilliant day. All the best, Stuart. Thank you, Stuart. The wedding went wonderfully, so thank you for that. It's a great question, and it has crossed my mind. Is like, did anyone ask Tim Burton? Did he give his blessing? Are they just doing it anyway? I would love to hear that. I think it would be so cool if he would say something, if he'd be like, yeah, I have the same exact question and I don't know the answer. What do you think, Jamie?
I don't want to be skeptical. I want to say that he would be very graceful about it, but for some reason in my head, all I can think is somebody asking him that question and he'd say, first of all, anybody who knows me knows I would never watch a superhero movie.
Okay.
I don't know. I love his work, but man, that's one eccentric human being. So
yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so.
I would literally imagine the response to that question would be dependent on what day you asked him.
Sure. But what's so crazy is he's so weird, but like, he's so cool at the same time. Like when he did all the interviews for the Batman DVDs, like he was very pragmatic, where when he realized they didn't want him to do a third Batman movie, he was just like, oh, okay, that's fine. You don't want me to, that's cool. I'll go do something else. Like, and he and Keaton are pals. So I'm sure, and they just worked together on Dumbo. That was only 2 years ago. So I have to imagine he's at least in the loop. I don't necessarily think they waited for his blessing, but I'm sure Keaton was like, hey, they want me to do this thing. And I could just see Tim Burton being like, oh, that's fine. Have a blast. Like I can't imagine. He also doesn't seem like petty or jealous. And so I just don't think he would care.
Yeah. Well, I assume Keaton bowed out because Burton wasn't doing Batman 3, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, he was going to continue. But that was the first big strike, was he was going to continue, but he was super bummed that he wasn't doing it with Tim Burton. And then he read the script and was like, nah, I'm out. Like, I guess he read the script. He had some meetings with Joel Schumacher and he's like, this is not what I want to do. Because they offered him like $30 million, like something insane. And he still walked.
Something to be said for artistic integrity, I guess.
Yeah. So no, he was open to continuing with Schumacher, but once he realized the path it was taking, that was when he said no. Anyway, yeah, it'll be really interesting if Burton says anything or is somehow involved. My guess is they might even slap like an executive producer credit on there for him, just because they are using some of his stuff.
It'd be cool if they did.
Yeah, for sure. All right, next message from our pal Imad Alaguz. It says, hey, I found this question on Twitter. I wanted to hear your take. Do you think that the Justice League knew that the Flash reversed time to save everyone, or do you think they think everything went according to plan? So it's a poll. Most people voted that they don't know. To me, I think it would make a good story if he shared it with someone and then advised him to keep it a secret. Interesting. Imad. Thanks, Imad. So what do you think, Jamie? In Zack Snyder's Justice League, did the League know that the Flash reversed time?
I mean, at the moment, no, I don't think they did. But, I mean, this particular portrayal of Barry doesn't exactly strike me as tight-lipped and good with secrets. So I'm not exactly sure he would have been able to refrain from sitting around the old, round table at the Hall of Justice and saying, hey, guys, now let me tell you what really happened.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they know. Like, there's nothing in the movie that implies that they would know, but no, I just don't think that they do. You're right. Maybe at some point down the road, he shares with them what he can do, especially because we know it comes into play later as he comes back from the nightmare. But yeah, I don't. When Zack Snyder's Justice League ends, I don't think they know.
You know what? To play devil's advocate to my own statement that I just made, he also might realize the ramifications and dangers of making that knowledge public, and might just, go out of his way to keep that one to himself too. So I could literally see that going either way.
Yeah, exactly. He broke his rule, All right, next message is from Nathan Toy. It says, "Hey guys, longtime listener. With Aquaman 2 starting filming, I'm starting to get nervous with how much social media activity I'm seeing about boycotting the film due to Amber Heard. The volume activity I'm seeing seems like it would actually affect the film's bottom line, and looking back, it seems like WB probably should have recast Mara. Not going to pretend to know what went down with that relationship, but at the very least, it seems like it was not a one-sided abusive dynamic. It's clear she was also violent and has a history of domestic violence with separate arrests as well. Seems like WB dropped the ball here with cutting ties with Johnny Depp, but not with Amber Heard. I'm just disappointed this error in judgment might affect the movie." Nathan, it is an excellent question. I almost brought it up earlier when we were talking about the start of production, but I remembered you wrote. So, yeah. Jamie, what do you think about this?
I have no opinion on this. I don't care either way. If they recasted her, fine. Apparently she did some awful shit. They don't recast her, fine. Nobody can tell me specifically what awful shit she did that is deserving of her being permanently blackballed from all of society. So all I can say is, don't ever let me find out that you hate this and can't stand it and you're going to boycott Aquaman, but you have a copy of like Rosemary's Baby sitting on your shelf somewhere, or Jeepers Creepers, or
Lethal Weapon,
or Lethal Weapon, or I mean, I could go on and on. Any X-Men. Just Jesus. I mean, where do you stop?
Yeah.
I promise you, every major production that has turned out for a movie for all of existence has had some kind of a scumbag, dickhead, asshole that worked on that project. You have to be able to separate art from artist. You have to.
Yeah. I will agree with Nathan in that I'm a little worried. I do think that it is extra baggage that the movie does not need. Because even when I tweeted out like, yeah, Aquaman 2, let's go, I got a lot of responses from people who are like, sorry, not doing it, Amber Heard. I'm like, and I get that. I totally do. If I had if it was up to me, I would have recast. Because it is baggage, it is bad press, and it doesn't reflect great on the movie. But I think that Johnny Depp chose to step away from Fantastic Beasts. I don't think they fired him. I think that when everything, when all of this shit hit the tabloids and out there, Johnny Depp was like, okay, I'll step away so you don't have to deal with this baggage with Fantastic Beasts. Amber Heard didn't do that. I get it. Amber Heard probably needs the job more than Johnny Depp does. It's like I've said in the past, it's very muddy. It's very unclear who did what to whom, because it definitely seems like there was fault on both sides. I don't think Amber Heard is innocent in this, but I also think that like what happens in someone's marriage or personal relationship doesn't necessarily have to affect their employment. So it's complicated, and I'm still can't wait for the movie. But I do think that, yeah, Amber Heard being involved, it does sap a little bit of that enthusiasm for me. I do wish they had recast, but to Jamie's point, like, a lot of shitty people are in a lot of movies we love, and there's not much you can do about that. So I hope it doesn't hurt the film too much. But because it's so muddy, it was just really hard to succinctly say, oh, here's who's at fault. I'm unsure, but I do think that since the split, Johnny Depp has taken more of the high road and Amber Heard not so much. But I'm also biased because I'm a big Johnny Depp fan, so maybe that's me just wanting that to be true, which I can admit my bias. But But yeah, anyway, point is it's baggage the movie doesn't need, and it's a shame that it's going to have to deal with that.
Yeah. Either. I'm going to see it. If you don't want to see it because of Amber Heard, then, everybody's free to make their own choices.
Yeah. Everybody's free to wear sunscreen.
That too.
All right. Next message is our old pal, Eric Carter. It says, hey guys, the timing may fall exactly with this, and it could land on your Long Halloween Part 1 episode. Nope, sorry, Eric, it didn't. He goes, anyway, I greatly enjoyed it. I was very impressed with Jensen Ackles' Batman, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts. My question is this: with this film seemingly being shared with Superman, Man of Tomorrow, and Justice Society World War II, what Batman stories that haven't already been adapted do you think would fit in this universe as well? Thanks for taking the time to devote all this Bat goodness. You guys are the best in the game. Keep the Bat signal lit and pointed skyward. Your Bat brother, Eric Carter. P.S. Congratulations to Andy and Catherine on your nuptials. I wish you nothing but happiness. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. It's great. So yeah, we have not really reviewed The Long Halloween yet, as we talked about. We will get to it, but I agree with you. I really liked it. But okay, Batman stories that have not been adapted that you think could fit in this new, I guess, continuity, for lack of a better term. Jamie, thoughts?
I guess I'll have to turn in my card now because I haven't seen Superman, Man of Tomorrow. I haven't seen Justice Society World War II, and I haven't seen Long Halloween. So I don't know what's gonna fit with them.
I really liked Man of Tomorrow, which we still have not reviewed on the show, so we need to do that. I still haven't watched.
I think that one is on HBO Max. So you
okay.
let me know when you're ready to do that one, and I think I can accommodate.
Okay. I have not watched Justice Society because I was waiting for it to go on sale, and it never did. So, or I missed it, which is very possible. So that is on my to-do list. But yeah, Batman stories. The problem is I feel like, I hope they do. Oh my God, what's the Long Halloween sequel? Dark Victory.
Yeah.
I would love for them to.
There's
do
a third
that.
one in there too, isn't there?
There's Haunted Night.
Isn't there a Catwoman story like
oh
When in Rome or
God,
something like that
you're
that's
probably.
tied into it?
I'm sure you're right. Yeah, I'm not an expert. So yeah, I guess the easy thing is you could continue doing the Long Halloween sequels and spin-offs. You could do those. I'm trying to think of other landmark Batman stories that have not been adapted.
I can tell you this. It's kind of sidetracked from it, but I'd love to see somebody adapt Superman Birthright and do it, justice.
Mm-hmm.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a great story that is, just prime for somebody to do some kind of an adaptation of. But it's not a short story. It's at least as long as Long Halloween, if not, it might be a little heavier because there's more dialogue, not just, a splash page every 3 turns. And I'm not, slapping Long Halloween around there, but that's not exactly a heavy dialogue story, whereas Birthright is. So
yeah. I guess I'll just say this, just because I can't think of anything better. Batman Noel.
I still haven't read that
because it fits in.
For like 5 years, we've been talking about doing that for the Christmas episode, and we never do.
I know we will someday. But just because it's holidays like Long Halloween, but then you've got Superman from Man of Tomorrow, who's part of Noel. You've got Joker from Long Halloween, who's part of Noel. So you could do that in theory. You've got Catwoman from Long Halloween. So yeah, you could do that. It's just a thought. I'm sure there are other big Batman stories that need to be adapted, but none are jumping to mind.
Year 2.
Okay.
I'm the only one that wants it, but I do want it.
Yeah. Sure. All right. Next message is Tom Fallows again. It says, hey guys, I really enjoyed The Long Halloween, and the changes they made make the mystery even more interesting for people who've read the book. I like how it's a story of Batman learning to be a detective. Do you think the Batman will follow this story arc for Bruce? Also, I've got to add, I wasn't very impressed with the animation. I like the character mods, but I felt the movement was a bit stilted. I do miss Tim Sale's art style and could have done with a bit more shadow to the film. What did you think of the animation? Thanks, Tom Fallows. Thanks again, Tom. So Jamie still hasn't watched it. Like I said at the beginning, I really liked it. I do agree with you. I think it's really cool that they're really making it about Batman learning how important it is to be a detective. Yeah, I think that I could definitely see that in the Batman as well. I could see that being a big part of that movie since he's up against some version of the Riddler. But I will disagree. I really liked the animation. I had no problem with it. I thought it looked great. It is, I mean, it's interesting that they did not try to emulate Tim Sale's artwork at all. They just did their own thing. But Tim Sale's artwork is so stylized. It would have been very tricky to adapt it to animation. So I would have liked to have seen them try it, but I really didn't have a problem with the animation that we did get.
I can't comment on this because I haven't really seen it. I think I saw the bits of the trailer, but I didn't even have the sound turned on. Anytime that they really try to heavily emulate an artist's specific style and bring it to live action animation, it doesn't, more often than not, doesn't seem to come across very well. Case in point, the X-Men animated series trying to copy the Jim Lee artwork style with those characters, and it just didn't translate very well. I mean, the animation on that show was not, super expensive or anything like that to begin with. But it just didn't come across as good as it could have, I think, if they would have just gone with their own thing instead of trying to say, we're trying to take a Jim Lee drawing and bring it to life instead of just doing it the way the animator could have done it anyway.
Yeah.
Or in the case of the adaptation of Dark Knight Returns, I adore that. It's my favorite animated movie of all time because it's based on my favorite book of all time. They had some similarity to Frank Miller's style and artwork in that, but they didn't force it in that, if that makes any sense. Just because you couldn't do it. I mean, Miller's got what many people consider to be an ugly art style. I like it. Do I acknowledge that he's not the best artist in the world? Of course, he's not. But to me, I like his style, but his style for that book would not necessarily translate well to an animated film. And I think Tim Sale would very much be that same department if they tried to emulate his work. And I imagine, when they were doing test animation for it, they probably tried and said, this isn't going to work. Let's just do it the way that we can without, screwing things up. I have to imagine that was a conversation that was had, and Tim Sale would not be an easy one to adapt.
Yeah, that's true. I do think that the Dark Knight Returns animated film is the best example of how to translate it, because they did do a good job of, it's their own thing. It's built for animation, but I can still sink Frank Miller's style in there enough. I thought they found a really nice balance. I think that's probably the best example of how it's happened. But it's so tricky. It would have been, again, I would have been very curious to see them try to do Tim Sale, but I also understand why they didn't.
He has a very exaggerated art style, and that would be very tough to translate.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, next message here is from Tim Swenson. It says, "Greetings, sons of Batman. I really enjoyed your conversation about a Marvel DC crossover to prove once and for all that Batman is smarter than Iron Man. I think the point is especially amplified if you consider how Iron Man takes on the Hulk in the Age of Ultron compared to how Batman schools Superman in The Dark Knight Returns. Basically, all Iron Man does is try to take on Hulk with more Hulk, using Veronica and the Hulkbuster armor, simply trying to out-engineer him. Batman, in contrast, uses strategy, tactics, and psychology to exploit Superman's weaknesses. X-ray vision, try my X-ray seeking missiles. Super hearing, how about a dose of sonics? Want to go hand to hand? Allow me to plug into the city grid. How about acid spray from my gauntlet? Tony Stark may want to use this idea in his Hulkbuster armor. And then the grand finale, the kryptonite arrow specifically designed to haunt Superman with the memory of the one man who finally beat you. Top it all off with a fake death to make his exit and throw off the political scrutiny, and you've got a victory only our Caped Crusader could achieve. Hope this finds you well. I love the podcast and your stimulating conversations. Until next time, don't go all Billy on me. Show 'em we nasty. Tim." All right, Tim. I mean,
there were so many Dark Knight Returns references in that.
That was just for you, Jamie.
Tingles right up my spine.
It's very, very much for you. And very good points. It's true that, I do think that's part of the brilliance of The Dark Knight Returns, is just how comprehensively he thought about what it would take to defeat Superman.
I mean, we're talking about characters that have been around, Batman for 80 years, and Iron Man for probably 60 or so, give or take. Just speaking from the cinematic versions that we're referencing, the Tony Stark in the Marvel Cinematic Universe really relies so much on that armor for so many things, and he treats it like at least in the Phase 1 era. He kind of gets away from it by the time Iron Man 3 rolled around. Take the line from Avengers, for example. They're on the plane. Thor comes and grabs Loki, jumps off the plane, and Black Widow gives the line of, you may want to sit this one out. These guys are, or no, Cap says we need a plan of attack, and Stark says I have a plan, attack, and he just jumps out. I mean, he doesn't really know what he's getting into, who he's getting into it with. He's just reliant that armor is going to protect him. Mm-hmm. Or when he busts out of that bunker in the first Iron Man movie with the Mark I suit, he's not given. I mean, he's got some strategy and some idea, but he's really a blunt force instrument trying to get out of that situation. Batman doesn't really come across as a blunt force instrument in most iterations that you see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and that's, you could probably reference Iron Man comics, which I've read all of about 5 of in my entire life to prove my theory wrong. I'm just basing it on, the Robert Downey Jr. version. So
yeah,
maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But.
Right. Understandable. Cool. All right, we're going to do one more, then we're going to get out of here. There's still a few left, but I'm just going to save them for next time. So this is from Jim Bailey. It says, hey guys, I hope you're well. Congrats to Andy on your recent nuptials. And I'm very jealous of your Rick Baker Universal Monster pictures.
Those things were awesome.
Yeah, they're really awesome. I got a quick tangent. So yeah, I did share it on, I didn't share it too broadly, but I shared it, I think, on Twitter. But yeah, me and Catherine, we were like, are we buying each other wedding gifts? And so we decided, well, what we're going to do is we're going to buy these for our future home. And they're paintings that Rick Baker did of the Universal Monsters, signed by Rick Baker, and they're amazing. So we got Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein, because that's who was on our wedding cake, was Frankenstein and the Bride.
Because you guys rule.
Yeah. So thank you. And they're totally rad, and I regret nothing.
Okay. Sidetrack to that. Tomorrow is my 21st wedding anniversary. I just happened to trade for a 1993 40th anniversary Corvette with 7,700 miles on it this week. And I drove it home tonight in the hopes that my wife sees it in the garage and says, hey, you want that for your anniversary?
Any luck?
I bet it doesn't work. I haven't been upstairs since she got home, but I'm sure she's seen the car and knows what I'm up to.
Okay. Well, I my fingers are crossed for you.
Thanks.
All right. Anyway, so Jim continues. He says, James Wan tweeted this week about the possibility of using other DC characters in the future, and he referenced, among other things, a Batman comic book cover. My reaction was a firm no thank you to Gunn doing a Batman movie or show, as I don't see much room for dick jokes and fart gags in the world of my Dark Knight. Do you think this is short-sighted of me, and do you think you'd be interested to see what James Gunn would do with Batman? It's unlikely to happen, but it's an interesting talking point nonetheless. Thanks. Keep up the great work. Big love from your UK fans, Jim Bailey. Thanks, Jim. I know Jamie's answer, but go ahead.
Well, to say that these jokes don't have their place, anything's got its place given the right context. Look at the Batman Harley Quinn movie. I didn't care for that at all. A lot of people really liked it. A lot of people really didn't too. But those jokes were, present and accounted for in there, talking about farts that smell like justice or whatever the F it was. Just, it wasn't for me. Knowing Gunn like I do and knowing Batman like I do, hell no, I don't want Gunn to ever do anything with Batman. Ever. But yeah. That's me. Somebody else may like that, and if that's the case and he does it, great. I'm glad my stance on Batman Ninja applies to that. Batman Ninja is not a movie that they made for me, but I'm really glad it exists for the people that like that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So, for me, I don't need James Gunn to ever do shit with Batman.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I pretty much agree with you on James Gunn, even though I think I'm a little more forgiving of him. But
let's get something straight here. There are James Gunn things out there that I really like. Actually, I'd go so far as to say I love the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Slither, I really enjoy the movie Slither. I think he had a hand in producing or making that Brightburn movie. I think that's great. I don't know why more people didn't love that movie, but I love that movie. I think he wrote, was it Zombieland or Dawn of the Dead or one of those?
Dawn of the Dead. Yeah.
Okay, Dawn of the Dead. I love Dawn of the Dead. But like Super, hated it. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, hated it. He's very hit and miss with me. There's stuff he makes that I like, he's stuff he makes that I don't. But his sensibilities and mine aren't exactly in balance.
Yeah. Well, anyway, short answer, no, I don't want him to do a Batman movie. I'm more open to him using some Batman villains in a Suicide Squad movie, like we talked about earlier. I would be okay with that. And he's doing it a little bit, I guess, in the Suicide Squad, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, he would have to really, I think, change his style for me to get into that as a Batman movie. Because he just can't help himself with some of the jokes, some of the 12-year-old boy jokes, which, I guess we can all be guilty of, but sometimes they're a bit much. So yeah, for me, I don't see his style meshing well with a Batman movie. But if he wanted to use, like he said, Man-Bat in Suicide Squad 2 or 3, depending on how you look at it, I'd be down with that. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for the messages. We do appreciate it. And like I said, there's a few left, but I'm just going to save those for next time, especially because one of them is specifically for Brendan. So it would just be silly to read it right now. And we're getting time to pack up. So thank you guys. If you do have something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com, and hopefully we will get to it next time. But that's what we'll wrap up this time. Jamie, thanks for jumping on sort of short notice to keep the podcast feed alive, as it were.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Well, it's appreciated. Always good to chat. If folks want to keep up with you, you're not on social media anymore. So
if you want to follow me, get yourself some spy gear and an ice cream truck, because that's the only way you're going to do
it. Great. Or stay tuned to this show, because, you will always pop back up on this show.
Of course.
Cool. Anyway, I already told you where to follow me, but thank you guys as always for joining us. Thank you for downloading the show. Thank you for your patience as the schedule gets a little weird over the summer, but I do appreciate you guys hanging in there. And like I said, hopefully in late summer, early fall, things will start getting a little more regular, but we appreciate that. Please do subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast, though, so that way when there is a new episode, you don't miss it. We want to keep you in the loop. Please rate and review us, and as Michael Keaton's Batman says, I want you to tell all your friends about me. Visit holybatcast.com, and again, find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email again is holybatcast at rf4rm.com. So on behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
Have I ever mentioned how much I love this whole fine feathered things thing and how it's stuck now?
Good. Me too.
All right.
I'm taking it back.